Welcome back for another State of the Franchise episode as we get into the San Francisco 49ers hot start, starting 2-0 with a win in Levi's South. Woo! I'm excited to get into it. We're going to talk about that. And of course, Jason, this is a new time for us. We have a game tomorrow. So we're going to preview, of course, Thursday Night Football. Right after this, let's get into it. You already know what to do. Drop those spicy sourdoughs in the chat. Smash that like button. Let's get it. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now. We are back, baby. Jason Aponte, good to have you. Let's talk some 49ers Rams, shall we? I want to ask you this question to start off. Were you nervous at all during that game? Were you kind of like, what's going on here?
Well, if I could be a little petty again to start the show.
We like petty Jason, by the way.
Brad and I warned of the overconfidence in this game. And again, when I watched the film against Seattle, I watched Sean McVay being a master at what he does. And the idea of dismissing the Rams was met with, not you guys hyping up another team that we should blow out. I saw those comments. You know, I'm not looking at the comments today, but I watched them. I look at them. Not you guys hyping up another team that the 49ers should blow out is a humbling lesson for 49er fans in the art of styles make fights. And the best way to explain it is the perfect storm of this first half with the 49ers defense was soft zone coverage, Matthew Stafford being very good at what he does, getting the ball out quickly, a game plan by the Rams that was constructed very carefully, and the fact that it's a divisional game. Also, it's the NFL. Teams on the other side get paid too. So I just want to make sure we clarify that Brad and I were on the right side of history, because when I watched what the Rams did against Seattle, I watched Sean McVay cooking, and I watched Sean McVay playing to the strengths of his players as he usually does. We can make jokes all we want about the Rams and owning them, for sure, right? You know, in the regular season, you do. But when you look at what Sean McVay is able to do, and let's not also get away from the fact that when you have a quarterback who can operate the offense at a level that Matthew Stafford can, it covers up a lot of warts. And Puka Nacua might be good. You might gotta like deal with that now. And I also want to push back on the idea that Puka Nacua was in the Cooper Kupp role. He was never in the Cooper Kupp role at all. He was in the Bobby Trees role. And that's scary, because then Cooper Kupp gets right back into the Cooper Kupp role. And now you've got a Bobby Trees clone, a guy who can run block like a dog, and a guy who knows how to get into space. The 49ers were the better team. I don't think anybody was arguing other than that. But Sean McVay is a very good coach. And I think we need to at least admit that. That's all. And he's going to put his players in position to win. And they did a great job in the first half. Luckily for the 49ers, they adjusted in the second half. They are the better team. And that's what showed at the end of the game, which is kind of what we said, Brad. We kind of said it's not the second half adjustment thing. It's just the 49ers have to win this game because they're better. And they are. But sleeping on the Rams and automatically putting them to bed as a blowout was a big mistake for any 49er fan, pundit, or otherwise at this point.
Yeah, it's funny because the week prior, right, heading into the Steelers, that game, we felt it was going to be close. At least I did. At least a lot of the fans did. Felt like it was going to be close. That one ended up being the blowout. And that seems to be the theme. It's like when we think it's a blowout, it's always going to be a lot closer than we anticipate. And, on one hand, you hit the nail on the head. The 49ers are the better team across the board. Offense, defense, special teams. They're just the better team right now. We know the Rams are in this weird kind of half in, half out process of trying to get their salary cap in order and all that type of stuff. So we understand what it is. Their roster isn't in as good of a spot as the 49ers, but they still have some will say, Nick Bosa referenced future Hall of Famer Matthew Stafford at the helm. And you said it 100%. I tweeted about it in real time. They just took advantage of what the 49ers were giving them, and they were giving them everything underneath. And that's how they moved the ball at will. And that's why it was like, man, is our defense ever going to stop these guys? Well, when you're playing 10 yards off every single time and they're running 5 to 7 yard route concepts, and you have Matthew Stafford who is going to be able to see that and hit it, that creates an issue of trying to stop something, right? Because it also neutralizes your pass rush. Because if you can't guard these guys because you're playing with so much cushion, you're just picking them apart. And that's what happened. And so, again, to your credit and to the credit of Steve Wilkes, they made some adjustments. The 2 turnovers were massive.
Huge. It felt like whoever made the first turnover was going to lose that game.
Right, because it was tied at that point, right? And the Rams were driving. They were about to cross midfield if they hadn't crossed midfield already. And then it was a Kyron Williams who
bounced off his hands, and Isaiah Oliver made a hell of a catch. Hell of a catch.
Right. But that play was really the difference in the whole game. And that's what allowed the 49ers to go on a scoring drive, go up 7. But even then, the 49ers stalled out with 6 minutes left and had to punt the ball back. And again, made another quality interception, quality play by Deommodore Lenoir.
That was my favorite play of the game.
Those 2 plays were the difference. Other than that, it was a pretty neck and neck performance all the way throughout.
100%. And that's divisional games. That's the part too. It's divisional games are always going to be weird like that. Divisional games, I don't feel like are going to be like that when it's the Arizona Cardinals. I think the 49ers are too far ahead of them. But Sean McVay knows them too well. Raheem Morris knows them too well. I mean, for God's sakes, they all coached on the same staff in Washington and used to go against each other.
Morris was Kyle's wide receiver coach in Atlanta, and then LaFleur is now, I think he was the OC with us, is now the OC for the Rams. So that staff is completely
that Shanahan tree understands at least a little bit of what's going on, right? And it's about who's going to get the upper hand and who has the better talent, and it's always going to be the 49ers. But yeah, divisional games are always going to be like that. And there's a lot to talk about in this game because there's a lot of outrage even after a win for certain things, one way or another. But there's always context and understanding as to why things happen during a game, the ebbs and flows of a game and why things happen. My question to you, Brad Graham, is that's your first time in SoFi Stadium. What do you think? I've been there twice. What do you think?
I would say that if you are a 49er fan and you have a 49er fan bucket list, it needs to be up there at the top. Oh, yeah. Going on a road game, first of all, the stadium, wow.
Well, all right. So let me start first. Let me start first with this.
Okay.
Rank that stadium in terms of the stadiums you've been to.
Oh, number 1, easily.
100%. And the only other stadium that I feel comes close is Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's one of the most beautiful stadiums I've ever been in my life. But that SoFi Stadium, I've been there twice. It's beautiful, man. It is really an amazing stadium.
I mean, it better be the number 1. It's $1 billion over budget.
It's in the middle of Inglewood.
Dude, in the middle of the ghetto. Dude, I walked
right.
I was like, oh,
dude.
Boy.
All right. So real quick, before we get into it, from the NFC Championship game, I walked and we're walking and I look at the sign and I was like, does that say Crenshaw? And I was like, and we're wearing red? I was like, dude, we need to call our Uber now, right now.
Bro, I'm by myself. I'm just like walking. I was like, all right, hey, I know where I'm at. I've been in these types of environments before. This ain't new for me. So, hey, you just got to keep your head on a swivel. That's what it is.
Get that Uber,
But
man. Get your ass out of here.
But once you get into that like stadium area, like the lake, the entry, dude, first of all, let me talk about the experience. Walking into the parking lot, it was nothing but 49ers fans
Yep.
tailgating.
100%.
Rows and rows and rows of red. You got little spots of blue tents here or there, but it was a 49ers tailgate. It was nothing but 49er fans all over the place. I mean, it had to be 90% 49er fans, Jason. Like it had to, there was no way it was just 60. It
And
had to be 90. There's no way.
I'm listening on third downs, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, how is it?
Another
It's
story.
not that loud at all. I was there for an NFC title game, and it was never that loud for the Rams.
I love that Fred Warner and Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles brought it up on Fred's
They're
podcast.
pumping in noise.
They're pumping in noise. This every time, bro. The giveaway is when the PA announcer comes on at the most random of times and just goes, "Whose house?" And it a booming, "Our house." I'm like, that's BS. There's no way. There's no way, because you look everywhere and it's
red.
not like I was sitting next to Rams fans and they were like, "This is insane." They're like, we should just wear Rams fans should just wear red, so we make it look like this is what we're supposed to do. Like it's crazy.
And to give a little context, it's not that the Rams don't have fans, is that I salute the Rams fans that took a stand when they moved to St. Louis and said, no matter if you come back, I am not coming back because of what you took away. I respect the fan base that stands on their values, stands on their morals, because the Los Angeles Rams were an identity for people from Los Angeles. And then to move them to St. Louis and then to move them back and act like everything was going to be all right, I applaud Rams fans. I do. I really do. I applaud the Rams fans that don't go back, don't buy any merchandise, don't watch the games, don't go there. That and
they're all Niner fans now.
Yeah, but that and with an accordance, there's a lot of 49er fans in LA. Yeah. But like I do applaud the Rams fans that have stood on their morals and their actual values. And if you want to make a team feel something, don't go to their games anymore. Don't watch their games anymore. And I respect fans that do that if you feel that slighted by them. You don't have to pick it outside the stadium. You don't have to go on social media and like make a big fuss.
Just don't go.
Just don't go. That's it. Just say, listen, I'm not going, right? Like that's it. I did it with the Knicks. I did it with the
San Francisco 49ers when they were trash and they just moved to Levi's and they fired Harbaugh. That's what, like, people like always like, oh, Niner fans aren't loyal. There's no fans in the stands. They had one of the worst products we had ever seen on that field, with one of the worst transition from Harbaugh to Chip Kelly to Tom Sula. Like, there's a reason people, like, you have to rationalize. People aren't going to go spend their hard-earned money on a trash product. I do not hold it against fans who are like, hey, I'm going to save this $500, sit my butt on my couch and watch the 49ers lose. Like, I hold it against, like, you see those like memes all the time, 2016, 27, like, bro, the 49ers didn't have a good product. And, when when Shanahan came, that started to change. The hypest I'd ever seen Levi's was that 2018 year Battle of the Bay. Like, that was the first time we'd seen Levi's completely filled.
Yeah.
But they didn't put out good products. So I don't hold it against fans at all who don't provide their money for products that aren't good. I really don't.
And to be fair, the reason that I left the Knicks wasn't because they suck. They've been sucking my whole life. It wasn't that. It was for much different reasons that I refused to get into, mainly ownership and the way ownership treats the fans. It was listen, fair. I dealt with the terrible product for a long time as a Knicks fan. That didn't bother me. But when the owner did things that made fans look stupid and, literally did not care and put more emphasis on his blues band than he did the New York Knicks, I said, well, I can't support it. And to be fair, I don't care. The Knicks could be in the NBA Finals. I'm not coming back because I stand on that. And I feel like there's a lot of Rams fans that feel the same exact way. And I love that for them because it shows you have integrity, you have morals, you have values. And when you're disrespected, you don't forget. So that's fine. And that's another reason that 49er fans take over that stadium, besides the fact that, the 49ers have more fans.
Yeah. I was an A's fan too. I'm not an A's fan anymore.
So I love that for the A's fans too, who are just you're not going to support them if they go to Vegas. Good for you. Good for you. And also
trash owner, trash everything.
Once I cut the Knicks out of my life, and that toxicity of them being terrible was gone, the air feels better, the food tastes better, everything's better. And
why am I stressing over A's games? Like, what is wrong with me? Like, I got enough going on with the Niners right now. A's, you're out of here. I was I was on a thread with the Niners back when Balky was running the show.
Brad, and this is life advice. Forget sports. If something's not adding value to your life and making you happy, cut it out of your life.
There you go.
Friendships, family, sports, relationships, whatever it is. That's life advice on State of the Franchise. That's what you're getting in this episode.
This is high quality content right now. This is why you tune in. And the other reason why you tune in is because when we do talk about this team, we get a awesome glimpse at everything, and because we do it from a fan perspective, we do it from an analyst perspective.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
We don't have to. But when I went to SoFi, I keep calling it SoFi South, Levi's South, as a fan, I would say this to wrap this conversation up about that is you have to go if you get the opportunity. Absolutely. It is such a phenomenal environment for a football game. The fact that the 49ers were wearing their home reds, it feels like a home game. It is so cool. It's awesome, man. It really is. So if you have the opportunity to go to one of those games, I suggest you go because it literally is a vacation home for the San Francisco 49ers, and they got it done. So let's transition. You kind of mentioned it earlier. There was some negativity, though, that did come out of this game, and we'll get into the super chats after this. So I just want to acknowledge you guys' super chats. What was some of the negativity you heard? What was some of the narrative starting to get spun? And what are your thoughts on them?
Well, let's just start with the Brock Purdy missed throws thing. Obviously, when you see walk-in throws that should be there, that would have changed the course of this game. And by the way, the 49ers still scored 30 points. And that's kind of where I'm going with this is the first time you've seen Brock Purdy miss those type of throws, and yet the 49ers still put up 30. So there is a level of thinking that this might be a baseline, because what I am focused on is not so much those throws, is the fact that the game never felt like it was ever slipping away from Brock Purdy. Whether the quarterback was Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, a bad throw kind of puts this sense of dread in your stomach or in your head, where you're just like, oh, wow, things are slipping, things feel bad. But what I think Brock Purdy did was weather those throws and also not turn the ball over, which we said was literally the difference in this game. Who turned the ball over? Matthew Stafford. Who didn't? Brock Purdy. Whose team won? Brock Purdy. Look, I think because we are so enamored with Brock Purdy and what he's done in his short time that we forget that he's not even into his teens as a starter. Like, I think he's at 11. I think I think that's like, he's not even into his teens yet. So this is the first time that you've seen Brock Purdy in the regular season not throw a touchdown pass, even though, by the way, NFL, I call complete BS. That was a pass to Deebo Samuel. I don't care how you try to justify that. But here's the positive way to spin this. The 49ers left opportunities on the field and put up 30 points. That's not going to happen very often with the way Brock Purdy's played. And then Brock Purdy goes to the press conference and he says, I've got to play better. Not we've got to hit those throws. We've kind of heard that over and over by someone that I don't want to name right now, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm piling on. But the game never felt like it was getting away from Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy continues to be this like calming force that you're just like, okay, they've got a shot as long as they keep going. And nothing felt like Kyle Shanahan's confidence like that end of the half call to have Brock Purdy run that in there. I can guarantee you, it didn't matter who the quarterback was, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, Brian Hoyer, they would have taken 3 right there.
Oh yeah.
And if
they would have not given Brock a chance to throw with 6 seconds left, or anyone not named Brock a chance to throw with 6 seconds left. Not at
and
all.
if you need any more evidence, the throw to Ayuk on 3rd and 8, which they thought it was 4th and 2, Kyle Shanahan was ready to go. He had the offense right on the field, but they challenged the call, and it turned into 4th and 8, and it turns into a field goal attempt. Mm-hmm. There's a confidence about Brock Purdy that Kyle Shanahan loves, and you can feel coming through the screen, and you understand why this team is completely behind him. So missed throws, cool. If it becomes a trend, panic. But please do not tell me about something that you're afraid is going to happen in a game that the 49ers haven't played yet or qualified for. Meaning, well, they can't do that in week 5 against the Cowboys. Probably can't. Well, they can't do that in the NFC title game against the Eagles or the Cowboys. Well, let's get there first. Right now, it just feels like there's a calming influence, and as long as they're putting up 30 points, if the 49ers put up 30 points every time that Brock Purdy's under center, they're unbeatable. And that's all you really should be focused on at this point.
Yeah. I went on 95.7 The Game yesterday, shameless plug, and talked Hollywood, baby. Went on and talked about we were talking about, asked the same question. Should we be concerned about Brock Purdy missing these deep throws? And my answer was no, not really. We shouldn't. Of course, we want him to hit those. We want to see that work out, but it really just comes down to timing. My comparison was they weren't egregious overthrows.
No, they were just off by a bit.
Right. If you want to see an egregious overthrow, we watched Deshaun Watson sail balls out of bounds, uncatchable.
I thought you were going somewhere else with it, but I'm glad you went there. I was about to be like, that's a trigger warning. Don't say that. But yes, Deshaun Watson was throwing that thing into the stands.
Exactly. And it's like, you want those throws? Oh yeah, we're throwing up the red flag. We're like, all right, this is concerning. But when you look at all of the throws that he made, you looked at the overthrow to Ayuk, he was maybe 2 yards over his head. It was on track. It was on line. It just was maybe a step or 2 ahead. That's timing related. The accuracy was there. He had enough arm. It wasn't underthrown. It was timing related. Okay. You look at the Debo overthrow running down the seam. If you really want to nitpick it, when Debo turns his head, he drifts off his course. That was enough to potentially affect the timing of the deep throw. Now, I would still say it was more so on Brock Purdy because you could have put a little bit more air under it to allow Debo to locate it and run under it. But if you go back and you watch the tape, Debo completely drifts while he's running, and that changes. That's why the ball, he's like drifting to the right, and the ball feels like it goes behind him a little bit, like from an angle perspective. And if you match it up, he drifts off course from where Brock started to the throw versus so we can look at that in that perspective. You look at the one on the deep in breaking route from Juwan, again, is a little high, but it's still a timing thing. You just got to drop it down a little bit, or put a little bit more air under, a little more touch on it, whatever. But then you got the one to Debo as well in the back corner of the end zone. But after all of that, after those misses, he still throws a back shoulder throw, 35 yards down the left sideline to Juwan Jennings.
Are you talking about Leak?
A
quarterback? A San Francisco 49ers quarterback hit Leak. We should throw a parade. Like, that's literally that. Like, I saw Juwan running, and I'm like, Leak. And he throws it, and he caught it. And I all I could think of is Rich Madrid was somewhere smiling. Because the 49ers haven't hit Leak the entire time, and it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Leak was completed by Brock Purdy. Throw a parade.
But that's what I love about Brock, right? Is like he's got ice in his veins. Like, again, you've talked about the confidence that we can feel. We've talked about the trust that Kyle clearly has, the trust that the offense has, all of it. It's because Brock is built the right way.
Yeah.
He might not have all the elite physical traits, and we've talked about that ad nauseum, but he knows how to win his way, and he's still figuring it out. He's coming back from a severe injury on his throwing elbow. Like, let's not forget these things. And again, if they were egregious overthrows, the conversation's probably a little bit more valid, and it's going to be, the tone would be a little bit more different, but they weren't. They were really close. And a lot of it came down to timing. And his last deep throw attempt was a perfect ball on Leak on the back shoulder, and Jauan Jennings goes up and gets it. So I'm not concerned at all.
If I was concerned with any throw, it was the missed throw to Debo on third down.
Yes.
That one
I didn't like
is
that
one
whole sequence. That sequence pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie.
Right. No, and that one, I feel like 10 out of 10 times in your sleep, Brock Purdy hits. That one,
I've never seen him miss like that.
Right. That one had me much more concerned than something that was deep down the field, right? Because as we know, when you push the ball downfield, regardless if the guy's wide open, those passes aren't high percentage passes, but they are shot plays. So if you hit them 4 out of 10 times, you're looking good, right? Like 5 out of 10 times, like you're looking good. It's not a 50-50 ball, but those deep passes, and you never expect guys to be that wide open. The other positive that I'm going to spin is, regardless, there's always going to be those opportunities down the field because Kyle knows how to get those guys open, and those guys are magicians of what they do. But that one was the one that probably concerned me the most, because I'm just like, damn, Brock, that's one that you hit in your sleep. Like, even with the free rusher coming in, like, you know, there's a screenshot of, and this is why I hate the screenshotting thing on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you're calling it these days, of, well, Kittle's running wide open. Why is he throwing this to Debo? Well, first of all, you screenshot it, and Brock is halfway through the air getting hit on his way down to the ground.
Like, ooh.
He's like flying in the other direction. That's one.
He got
two
locked on that play.
You have no idea what the progression or read is. So you want someone who has been
or the situation. It's 3rd and 3 with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They're trying to get a first and milk the clock.
And Deebo Samuel's your guy. Get him the ball. You don't know what the progression or read is. So you want a guy who's been coached and understands the situation, understands his progression, understands where he needs to go with the ball. You want him to just completely abandon all of those things while there's a free rusher on him and turn and look at Kittle and then throw him the ball.
It's 3rd and 3. Kittle's down there somewhere.
It's what I despise about screenshotting any sort of quarterback play, any sort of like, oh, he's wide open. Do you understand the progression? Do you understand what the read is? Do you understand the concept? Do you understand where he's supposed to be going with the ball? If you don't, I don't, blame you. No. But looking at that play, literally there was a screenshot. Oh, Kittle's wide open. Purdy is halfway on his way to the ground in the screenshot. You could have at least posted it while he was standing straight up. Like, this is what I despise about the screenshot.
By Byron Young. He got cooked.
Dude, he's halfway in the air like Mike McGlinchey when Parsons lifted him. Like, that's
one of the hardest hits I've seen Brock take.
Right.
And it's I think of the one against the Bucks, one of his first dropbacks where he got smoked by a free rusher. It was on that level. He got cooked.
It was literally one of those like, yeah, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I got here moments. He's like lifted halfway through the air, and they were like, "Why didn't he see Kittle?"
Neck was like this. Like
the man is seeing God. The man's not seeing receivers. He's seeing God. He's looking straight up in the air. Good God, man. But look, again, to put a cap on the Brock Purdy thing, because there's other things that people are negative about with this win. I'm fine. I have no problem with it. If it becomes a trend, then you start to worry. This is something you haven't seen because we've kind of been treated to how well he's been playing. And it's a shock to see him miss throws because he doesn't miss them. So that's all. That's it. It's fine.
Good. Short, and it's intermediate, even deep intermediate throws.
And 30 points. And 30 points. And 30 points. 30 points. I mean, if the 49ers put up 30 every single week, no one's beating them. No one in the NFL, not the Monstars, nobody is beating them if they put up 30. So please, guys, again, negativity is always under the guise of realism. I'm going to keep saying
I love that you said that, dude. That's been stuck in my head for the last week when you said that on last week's show, and I'm like, dude, that's so right, because we've heard that all summer when people have been trying to critique Brock throughout training camp. It's all we're being objective, we're being real. It's like, no, you're not.
Here's the easiest way to objectively identify what Brock did. He had a fine game, not up to his particular standards. He missed throws. He operated the offense. That's it. That's
it. If that is his floor, concerned.
If that's his floor, no. Because why not? Because you got a bunch of playmakers around you. And by the way, Brandon Ayuk was laboring throughout this entire game as well, too. George Kittle was barely involved. But Kyle Shanahan said, I'm going to ride my studs, Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, all the way to a victory, which is a perfect segue, Brad, into the other negativity of this week surrounding Christian McCaffrey's workload. And now I'm the host, and I'm going to pass it to you, Brad. What are your thoughts about Christian McCaffrey playing every single snap this week? And by God, is he going to be able to hold up the entire year?
Listen, man, when you have the number one running back in the NFL and Christian McCaffrey, who creates opportunities not only for himself in the running game, but creates opportunities for others as a decoy, there's probably a good chance you're going to see him on the field a lot. And listen, I think we've even talked about this in the past, maybe going back to last year. We probably both had these conversations with our fans on our channels. Like, yeah, at a certain point, you're up a good score. Maybe take CMC out, put Elijah in, put Jordan Mason in, run the ball out, just like we saw against the Saints last year when they put Jordan Mason in and he just ran out the clock. Now Jordan Mason had a fumbling problem this summer. And it showed up in preseason as well.
Well, keep going.
So maybe that's why we haven't seen Jordan Mason.
Keep going.
And when we saw Elijah Mitchell, who was hurt all summer, he didn't look like Elijah Mitchell.
Keep going.
He looked like he was still getting his legs under him. So right now, we had the same conversation about trust with Kyle, right? I think trust is really big time up there with Kyle, right? So if he trusts CMC to the nth degree, and he's got some, I don't know if we're ready. This is a close game. The margin of error is paper thin. Maybe we just keep CMC in and we ride this thing out.
Good God, this man is spitting. By the way, just a hand clap for Brad Graham for being objective and understanding football. My God. Okay.
Just a fan, man. Just a fan.
Okay. Listen to what Kyle Shanahan said after the game. This was not the plan. You know what the plan was? He thought that they were going to be winning this game by a lot more. But the Los Angeles Rams came out, and he wasn't as confident in his defense. Okay. I'm so glad you bring up the Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell thing, because, of course, we'd love to see CMC off the field. But the gravity and the attention paid to him opens things up for everyone. Everyone. Because if Elijah Mitchell or Jordan Mason is on the field, you know what you can wipe off the board? A pass to the running back. You can immediately take that off.
Kyle's never dialed up a pass to Jordan Mason. Not once.
Take that right off. Now, pass pro. Who's the best pass pro on this team?
By far,
okay.
McCaffrey.
Okay. Spencer Burford struggled, which is another thing we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
Spencer Burford struggled in this game.
For sure.
Pass pro. Who do you trust? You didn't realize this game was going to be this close. If Jordan Mason goes out there and he fumbles the football or is stuffed for -2, every single fan will be screaming at their TV, where's Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me that a week 2 game in which it was very close, in which the 49ers never believed it would be that close, the bad idea was to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and have them take you home to get you a win? Now, let me also back this up because I'm not looking at the comments and I could probably, surmise that there's a bunch of foam mouth, oh, you can't go to at the end of the year, blah, blah, blah. All right.
I actually don't see one.
Week 2 was this situation. Christian McCaffrey's not going to have to be on the field every single snap on Thursday. Christian McCaffrey is not going to have to be on the field every single snap the next Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. But in a game, who do you trust? What do? You feed your studs. What did you bring Christian McCaffrey here for if in a game, which it was very close, and maybe you feel your quarterback isn't hitting the design throws and you're not liking what you see from the defense, you give the ball to Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey over and over to ride to a victory? That is somehow a problem? I'll never understand that one. It's week 2. It's not typical for him to play every single snap. He will not play every single snap on Thursday because Elijah Mitchell is going to get a ton of run. And he said after the game, we need to get Elijah involved. But in a game where you felt you were going to dominate, and it didn't happen that way, you decided to put the ball in the hands of your playmakers, and somehow that's an issue. I will never understand the thought process. And you know what? If Brandon Ayuk was healthy and playing every single snap, maybe that changes a little. You can throw the ball to your guy, right? Like Ayuk was dominant, like early in that game.
Yeah.
It's a one-game situation. This is not going to be typical. Now, if you want to get mad about something, possibly get mad about the way he was using week 1, because that game was far out of hand. That's where I can understand it. If you're talking about the Pittsburgh game, that one makes way more sense. You're up 21 points. The Steelers are not. The Steelers won a game on Monday, and I don't even know how they won aside from TJ Watt. Their offense is garbage. They're awful. If you want to get mad about a game, that's the one to get mad about. In a game where you got to have it and you got to stack wins, and we saw that the 49ers losing games earlier in the season to inferior opponents was the reason that you don't get the number 1 seed. That's the part that I don't jive with. If you want to get mad about week 1, I hear you. I think that was a little bit more egregious. You got to get somebody else on the field, man. You're good. This game, get it done. And if somebody comes in and they don't handle it, you're going to yell, where's Christian McCaffrey? This is a 1-week thing. Thursday, Elijah Mitchell's going to play. Guarantee it. Put a stamp on it. Guaranteed that he's going to get 7 to 10 touches in this game because I think the 49ers win, spoiler alert, against the Giants and going away pretty much in this one because I don't really have too many good things to say about the Giants. And it's not going to be that way in Arizona either after he gets 10 days off. So he's going to have a ton of time to recover. Let's contextualize each game with game situations, and that's exactly what Kyle Shanahan did in this one. But I do put more blame on Kyle Shanahan for week 1 than I do week 2.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly right. I didn't walk away at all even thinking that was a problem, that CMC played so much. It wasn't even a thought process. But the week before, that was a thought process. And that's the only time we will ever advocate for CMC coming off the field is when it's a blowout win and it's time to get out of there healthy. That's the only time I would ever advocate for CMC coming off that field. Other than that, keep him in every single play if that's what it takes to win the football game. If you're ahead 3 scores and you're running CMC, then we're going to have a conversation about that. It's like, all right, let up a little bit, put someone else in. Let me get to some of these super chats. Been hoarding super chats over here.
Nice.
So G Code says Bosa found a loophole on why he didn't sign early. 183-day rule of the state residency in Florida for tax purpose. Contract was already decided long ago. Based on the way John Lynch has talked about this, I don't believe this was decided long ago. The way that Kyle talked about this, the fact that John Lynch is having to take counsel from former Warriors general manager Bob Myers to keep his mind on from like losing it, that they hadn't gotten Bosa signed to this. I would say I disagree with that. But if it was for tax reasons, good for them. They saved millions of dollars if that was the case.
I think that's super interesting. I really do. I love me a good tinfoil. And trust me, man, if you don't think that negotiating with the Niners and sometimes why they have to overpay has anything to do with the state tax, then you are like out of the loop, like 100%. It is a very real thing. It's a very real thing. It is a very real thing. I love this because I never thought of it.
It's millions.
It's literally millions of dollars. If you get 20 million guaranteed, what are you giving up? 8, 9 million? I don't feel cool with that.
Paying like 40% tax.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't care how many millions I have in the bank. I don't care how many more millions I'm going to make. I don't want to do that. But
Yeah,
that's the
not
cost
only
of,
is cost of living high, but you're paying out your behind in taxes.
and
It's
that's the
unbelievable.
cost of nice weather. That's the
Yeah.
cost of the beautiful weather. So, but I love this. I love this idea. I was not aware of that. And I love a good tinfoil hat theory because I think this is something that while I have no insight into the situation, possibly was part of the reason that there was some sort of hesitance to sign. Not just this rule, but the actual taxes and everything as well too. I think Brad's
Yeah.
on. You on daddy duty?
No, I'm good. What was that?
You on daddy duty?
No, I accidentally knocked my charging cable out of my
Oh, okay.
laptop. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a leverage move for Bosa. But from a contract standpoint, I don't think anything was decided until that Wednesday. That's really when it came down. Because from the sounds of it, they were stressing out of their minds. So
Mhm.
also made me feel better about stressing because they were
They were
losing
stressed.
it.
Right.
Yeah, they were really stressed about it. Gray Fox says, I think Akilo still laying on the turf. He was tossed or pancaked by what it seems every offensive
Y'all
player.
ain't right. Y'all
Akilo
ain't right.
hates me personally because
Why?
I've been giving him hell. I've posted the Ronnie Bell clip. I posted the Debo clip. Obviously, everyone saw the CMC stiff arm. So and has been
He
talking
little,
about that.
like that Rares fan. He little. They
Yeah,
little.
yeah.
They're little. They're little. That's Christian McCaffrey when he sees a Killer Weatherspoon in the open field.
That was such a nasty play because
Oh, yeah.
CMC was literally tripping and
Yeah.
then just straight up stiff armed him. But
And
Akilo
then-
got cooked, man.
And then for him to, we're all good at reading lips.
Yeah.
Shut your BS ass up. It's a cold white boy right there. That's a cold white boy. Get out of his way, man. Get out of his way.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with CMC. He's built different. But yeah, Kello definitely I mean, he got ran through a couple times. So and 49er fans have been loving it. They've been loving every second of it. Throwback says, thank you as always. Jake Brendel and Aaron Banks will make the Pro Bowl. Do you think Brock Purdy makes it? This will be probably a good transition to talk about offensive line.
Oh, yes, it's perfect. See, you're thinking just exactly how I am.
So
100%.
I'm gonna answer the Brock Purdy Pro Bowl.
I'll be right back. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, I would say Brock Purdy has a shot for sure. I definitely think he has a shot. If the San Francisco 49ers continue to win football games and he continues to take care of the football and be a conduit to the San Francisco 49ers winning football games, absolutely. He can, like the Pro Bowl reminder, the Pro Bowl isn't that difficult to make these days. It's basically a popularity contest. And if Brock Purdy is winning football games and they're doing really well, he's going to be very popular. So I actually do think he will have a shot at making the Pro Bowl. I don't think that's too crazy, especially if they keep playing at this level.
Spicy tape?
That he's going to make the Pro Bowl?
No, that no 49 is going to be in the Pro Bowl.
Oh, that's a win take.
Because they got a game.
That's a W.
They got a game the week after. We don't play in flag football games.
We don't raise Pro Bowl banners. We raise Super Bowl banners.
That's right.
Jake Brendel, Aaron Banks.
They look great, man.
I've been so happy with, of course, Banks is continuing on what he did last year. The biggest thing for Banks when I watched him on tape was the biggest place he struggled was getting to second level, getting to being in control, getting to second level. He looks great. He definitely has taken steps forward in that regard. So Banks his game is becoming more complete, still phenomenal in pass protections, zero pressure, zero quarterback hits, all of it. He's 0 sacks. He's doing a phenomenal job. So Banks and Trent are phenomenal together. And I have to say, I tweeted about it today. I'm so impressed with Jake Brendel. Like Jake Brendel was good last year. He rose above expectation last year. I was big on wanting Brunskill to start. He got hurt in that during preseason, and Brendel ran away with it. And Brendel was good. He was definitely a serviceable starting center. This year, he looks phenomenal. Like him handling Aaron Banks. He's always in the right spot when it comes to passing off stunts, getting to second level, his footwork, his technique. He's playing with confidence. Like you can see it in comparison. Jake Brendel is playing fantastic. He's playing so good.
Almost like getting reps and playing helps.
Right. It's a second year.
It's his second year, right? He's just because he was 31 doesn't mean that he's been playing for 7 years, right? Like this is where we're at. But I think this is a good transition into the PFF offensive line grade thing.
0.0. Spencer
0.0 for Spencer Burford. I want to preface everything that I'm about to say with by no means does Spencer Burford have a great game. I don't even know if I could diagnose it as a good game.
It wasn't a good game.
But I want to, and anybody who's watching me this entire week has probably heard me go on to this rant, so you could probably tune this out. But anybody who has never heard this PFF thing, I'm going to get into detail. So before I did any sort of content ever, I was a data collector for PFF. And I got a chance to peel back the curtain into the grading system. Now, I was not myself a grader. I was a data collector. And the difference is data collecting is they send you college film and you have to identify on every single play all 11 players on offense and on defense and where they're lining up. So one step right makes you a LE, one step left makes you an LEO, and things like that. They give you a chart of where they believe that these guys should be. And then when you're done with that and you do that for an entire game, and it's broadcast footage, by the way, not all 22. They really want to challenge you, and it's super hard. Once you do that, you send that to them, and then that data collection gets sent to the graders. And the graders understand where they should be identifying each player and what they should be getting as far as the grade. Now, grading is subjective, and this is the easiest way I can explain it. Every single play that PFF is grading is on a scale of -2 to 2. That means you can get a -1.5, a -1, a -0.5, a 0, all of those things all the way until you get a 2, right? And to tell you what a -2 play is, it's essentially a quarterback throwing an interception in the red zone. A +2 play is like a David Tyree helmet catch. That's the way they identify that. Okay. Now, the graders watch every single play, and they identify it with, okay, on this play, I'm giving him a 0. On this play, I'm giving him a -0.5 or a 1.5. The issue is not the grading. It's not the grading system. It is the graders. And Brad, you understand the idea that if you don't understand the scheme protection, you don't understand what's supposed to be happening in terms of communication, passing off, you can watch a right guard get blown by and say, oh my God, that's a -1. But realistically, the right tackle missed his assignment and is not in the right spot. It's the same thing that drives me nuts about coverage. A coverage player will get dinged -2 for being over a receiver, but it's palms. It's cover 3. And someone else was supposed to be in that spot.
He's like passing
right.
it off.
It's supposed to be someone else is supposed to be in the spot.
Yeah.
But you, with the untrained eye, and I'm not trying to talk about anybody who doesn't understand these schemes. You don't have to. I think football fans that are at least a little dialed in understand when someone messes up, and they can look right at it and say, I don't need to know the concept. That guy just got beat. And I think that's very fair. But I do think that the nuance is lost on the little things. And the grading system would have way more credibility if the graders understood scat protection, jet protection, cover 3, palms, cover 6, what was supposed to happen on this play, so you can properly identify who should be dinged on these plays, as opposed to looking at a guy who the biggest thing I've ever had with PFF was it was during the 2020 season. Jason Verrett, who, shout out to him when he was on the team, was lined up over Marquez Valdes-Scantling in the 2020 game, in which, remember, everybody had COVID and Richie James had like 300 yards receiving, and, River Craycraft was starting and the 49ers had nothing. Jason Verrett was over Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling goes down the field for a long post, and he gets a 60-yard touchdown. And I go to PFF the next day, and who's dinged for the coverage bust? Jason Verrett. But it was cover 4, and there was supposed to be Tarvarius Moore over the top of him, getting into that spot and occupying him, but Jason Verrett got it for being across from him. Long story short, and I know I'm ranting. I'm sorry. You guys can tell me to shut up. The grading system would go in a much different direction if the graders themselves understood a little bit more about ball and the schematics. The only reason I say that is when you watch Sunday Night Football, when they do the starting lineups, PFF grade 15 out of 30. This player 2 out of 20. That stuff is so in bed with the NFL that number is tied to your evaluation. That number, that grade is now
perception.
It's the exact perception because people look at PFF and they're like, damn, well, PFF gave him a 0. He must have been terrible. By the way, I want to say one more time, Spencer Burford didn't have a good game. Let's just say that one more time. But a 0? Absolutely not. I don't think we're there. But
two things can be true.
The other thing is because they're so in bed with the NFL that when players go to negotiate their contracts, teams are pushing the PFF grade and pushing it across the table like, this is what they said about you. I don't know if we should, you're playing with people's money now. And for someone,
I would be so pissed if I was a player and they pushed a PFF grade in front of me.
And then you wonder why players are going crazy on social media, talking crazy about people who are not getting their money. It's about, I wish that the graders understood a little bit more, just a little bit more, just more insight into protection, who's responsible. That would go a long way. That's my long-winded rant. I'm sorry. I tried to keep it short and sweet, Brad.
No, just to piggyback on top of that, I remember when Richard Sherman started working for PFF, and he had
all the 49ers grades went up.
Yep, because he had to tell them what the responsibilities were and how they were grading it improperly because they don't understand the responsibilities. And again, playing offensive line is really hard. And if you have people trying to grade offensive line and they don't understand offensive line, then you're kind of screwed. But again, like we said, and since we're on the right side, I'll say this about Colton McKivitz. I thought Colton McKivitz improved his game exponentially over what he did against the Steelers. Now, is Colton McKivitz playing at a Pro Bowl level or anything like? No, he's not. But he still played really well, and I was very happy to see Colton improve. And some of the things that we were able to identify in regards to technique that he was struggling with, he improved on in this game. They were lining up Aaron Donald on top of him, and he was doing a pretty decent job for I really didn't see him get beat. I don't think flat out beat. So I thought Colton did a much better job than what he did against the Steelers. So that is a positive sign. 100%. The thing is Burford did struggle. He did have good plays. It wasn't like there was the all bad, but he struggled in the run game. He struggled with guys not named Aaron Donald. And, so it's just something we got to be alert on. Hopefully Spencer Burford is going to come out week 3 and have a much better game. But if he doesn't have a much better game,
Brad, Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams.
Oh, yeah. The task is tough, man. The task is tough. So
those are the two best players on the New York Giants, by the way. Right. You can say what you want about Saquon Barkley. Those are the two best players on the New York Giants. So we're gonna find out real quick about Spencer Burford.
Yes, and it's on a short week, coming off a bad week, and so this is the thing. I want Spencer Burford to be the right guard of the future for the San Francisco 49ers. I want him to lock down this spot. I do not want a situation where they have to turn away from Spencer Burford.
Right.
But I do think this is a very significant game for Spencer because we already know the 49ers didn't have the ultimate confidence in him because they split reps with Brunskill. That's unheard of on an offensive line. It worked.
But Brunskill ain't walking through that door.
Exactly. But you do have Feliciano sitting in the wings. So
Feliciano revenge game?
Feliciano revenge game. So this is the thing. I want Spencer Burford to take that step forward and lock this spot down. Yeah. To me, he's keeping the door open for someone to split with him. And I don't want to see that. I want to see him lock it down, shut that door, leave any doubt in the past, take this job, own it, and fix what you got to fix because he has the prototypical traits. He has it all. Just got to lock it down. Just got to play your techniques. Can't get can't get shedded constantly in the run game. You got to be able to stay stout. So he has those qualities. He has the traits. He can do it. I believe in him. But this, I do think, is a crucial game for him because I don't want to see that situation happen again where they'll like all of a sudden we start seeing them splitting because I do believe in Feliciano. I think he can be a starter. So that is going to be something that I think we're going to have to be on the alert of. But in regards to the right side, Colton got better. Hoping for a rebound game for Spencer, just like Colton rebounded last week.
And that's the thing, it's 2 weeks. Pointing out objectively that he had a bad game doesn't mean that you're predicting where he'll be as a player. And again, hey, shout out to Rob, man. Shout out to the Rams, man. They played a hell of a game, man. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, man. I'm really not going to sugarcoat it when it comes to that. Like, I know you guys want me to be like, ha, 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 we won again or whatever. But the Rams, Sean McVay and that team showed you they're not going anywhere because Sean McVay is a very good coach. The Play Callers podcast, all 4 of those guys are cooking.
Yeah.
McVay's cooking, McDaniel's cooking, LaFleur's cooking with Jordan Love, and so is Shanahan. Yep. Those guys are ahead of the game when it comes to offensive stuff, man. Like, so shout out to Rod, man, and shout out for him being here. You know, like, because a lot of them will just come and they'll talk. This is what we should expect during Dallas week. We're going to get a bunch of Cowboys fans in our chat, and then they'll just completely fade away, like, if the 49ers get that done, which I know I'm looking ahead 2 weeks ahead, but I'm just saying, like, the Rams fans, the Rams ones who comment on our things, they at least come around. Yeah, sure. No matter what we say about what happened with Spencer Burford in week 2, doesn't mean that it's a predictor for what he's going to be. But you would be lying to yourself if you said that you are super confident in what's going on or you're not concerned, right? And I think last week when we talked about it, I said I felt I was more concerned with Burford than McKivitz because look at what TJ Watt just did. TJ Watt just won a football game by himself for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's how good he is. And we need to start talking about TJ Watt as like that real guy. I know we love Nick Bosa, but I don't know if I know of an edge player that makes more plays that changes games. Like fumble recoveries for touchdowns or interceptions that are caused by him being there or just outright fumble recovery, like fumble force. Like TJ Watt's that guy. He has the most sacks in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it feels like he's only been playing like 4 years, 5 years. It's insane. But what I was more concerned was, you know, Colin McKivitz is going to have to go against TJ Watt every week.
Right.
And anybody who does, God help them. But Spencer Burford being in his second year, I expected more because I want the jump. I need the jump. And I expect you, after all of the, I don't want to say coddling, but the plan that they put in place for you. The plan that they put in place for you where we're going to use Brunskill here and there to make sure that you're not overloaded, overwhelmed. I expected that to be completely.
They still wanted him to be the starter. They didn't want to bench him.
100%. They didn't want to bench him. Yeah. They understood that certain times we feel this is best for Brunskill to come in. And then, you know, God love Brunskill being tossed into the fire in an offensive line game, like right away and just being asked to block. Who the hell? It's like a relief pitcher, like for offensive line. It's unheard of.
I've never seen anything like it.
It's unheard of.
Crazy. Yeah.
But that's why I said I was a little bit more concerned for Burford after week 1 than I was McKivitz, because McKivitz at least was taking his first few snaps as a starting right tackle and went against probably the literal best, whatever. If you guys want to put Bosa ahead of him, I get you, you know, but you can't argue if somebody wants to say that TJ Watt's the best. Burford himself, you are going to see test after test. And this week there's probably no bigger test than Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams back to back, man. They're probably like, I know that I think Hargrave and Armstead are the best interior duo, but my God, if those two are not knocking on the door or in the discussion, I don't know where they are. So we're going to find out pretty quickly.
Yep. And so, like, as it stands right now, if we had to do a confidence meter, supremely confident in Trent, Banks, and Brendel. Zero questions.
Center to left.
0 questions.
I'm good.
I feel phenomenal.
I'm good.
Every run they're busting is off the left side, right?
But it is telling that whoever is the play caller on the other side and however they game plan, where they put in their best players is over the right side. So that is something to put in the back of your mind.
Yep. It is true. And so now we got to see how those guys. We want no questions across the line. I think,
Right.
like you said, McKivitz did a good job of answering a lot of those questions that we saw week 1. Now it's Burford's turn. Let's turn it up, and it's got a big test. No better way to answer questions than against the best. So it's going to be a good matchup against the Giants. They're down 4 starters. Noah Ojulari.
We're gonna get there. Their whole offensive line was drafted by the Giants, but some of them are making their first start in this game. And the only reason I know that is because I went on a Giants pod, and I was made aware of that because he asked me what's the 49ers advantage. I was like, it's easily defensive line over offensive line. I was like, you have no Andrew Thomas. I was like, you benched Evan Neal on Sunday.
He got benched?
He got benched. Look, if we're going to talk about traits, we looked at Evan Neal at Alabama and said, this guy is a graceful tank. He can do literally everything. What the Giants pod and the guy that was on there, shout out to Ed Valentine, by the way, he runs the other section of SB Nation for the Giants, pointed out to me was, and this, we were at the combine for when this happened. Evan Neal didn't test at the combine or the pro day. And there's a large sentiment that believes that the reason that he didn't was his people protecting him from testing poorly. And the way, and Brad, you would have been super proud of me. I implore you to listen to this podcast. I was trying to be super objective, right? I could have just went on there and been like, blah, 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 who cares? Niners by a million, who cares, right? But what I said was, from first glimpse watching him at Alabama, you feel like this is a great pick for the New York Giants. He's graceful. He's athletic. He can move. He can get outside the pocket and block for Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley if you want to pull him. Do whatever you want to do. But there's ways to overcome the fact that your traits didn't translate to the NFL. How is that? Technique, communication, understanding what you need to do. And I was just like, when I was saying all this, I was just like, I felt Brad Graham on my shoulder. Like, my son is talking offensive line. He's doing so good.
Yes, Jason. Yes.
And the thing is, the problem is, and this is what he agreed with me on, was the only way for Evan Neal to fix this is for him to continue to go through the lumps and the bruises. But unfortunately, those lumps and bruises are Daniel Jones' blind side. And can you afford to sacrifice Daniel Jones' blind side for development? I don't know that you can, and they're in a bad spot. So I was so glad that I was able to drop those little nuggets about like, hey, listen, trust your technique, be more technical, make sure that you're understanding what you're seeing, pass off stunts correctly, communication's key. But then I was reminded by the Giants guy, there's many guys on this offensive line that are going to be starting their first game ever, like the center, the left guard. Like it's insane to me. What the Giants think they're about to put forward. And that's why Vegas has it at like, right now, I checked the line before I got on here. It was 10. They moved it down from 10.5, even after Saquon and all those guys have been put out.
This game could be an absolute disaster for that offense.
100%.
Because of the O-line alone. Evan Neal, he was widely considered by a lot as the best tackle coming out of that class. I was very adamant that Ike Ekwonu was because he's more technically sound.
You're looking good.
And he's doing all right. I guess
you're looking good though. You're looking good. He's better than Evan. He's better than Evan Neal. You're looking good. You're looking good right now.
Yeah, because everyone was on the Evan Neal hype because of his size. And again, he moves well, but he just didn't have the technique. And technique isn't something that everyone can just learn overnight. That's why you got to put a lot of emphasis into technically advanced players in college because they're 5 steps ahead of just the big, fast, strong guy. Who just wins with size. So this game's going to be definitely interesting. We've obviously talked a lot about Brock, but Ryan says, Brad, Jason, how is Brock so good at football?
The man he's a real American hero. He probably listens to like Nickelback in his crib like all the time to get hyped up for games.
Look at this photograph.
Yeah, look at it. A hero to save. Ryan, that's the only explanation I have for Brock Purdy being a guy from Iowa who is he jams a bunch of Nickelback in the crib while he's lifting weights and he stares at a picture of a bald eagle and the American flag. Ryan, that's my best football analysis there, man. We've been serious with football analysis the whole time. You know I got to get my jokes off. That's the best way I can put it.
Bro, you got me as red as a tomato, man. That was hilarious.
Red as your beard.
That's the best explanation I think I've ever heard of why Brock Purdy's a good quarterback.
Dude, he's like, again, that Nickelback bald ego combination while he's like in his garage doing like how can you beat that? You can't beat
He's dressed like Rex Kwon Do from Napoleon Dynamite with the American.
Right. Go ahead and try to hit me. He goes like, you think I'm wearing these American pants and you can do something to me? That's Brock Purdy. Oh, we gotta get the show back on the rails. So sorry, we haven't even started talking about the Giants yet.
Oh my
god.
Who said fans can't analyze football?
Hey, who said you can't have fun doing this either? Like everything's got to be deadpan all the time. Like you're here to be entertained, also while informed.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
My stomach hurts, man. Why did you do that?
To your point, it comes down to what's internal. He's a good quarterback because of the way he's wired internally. And again, scouting the person, right, Jason? It's the hardest thing to scout, but it's arguably the most important because perfect example, Kadarius Toney seems like a terrible person. But supremely athletic, supremely talented.
Speaking of that,
Go ahead.
Somehow on that Giants pod, Kadarius Toney came up. I don't know how. It has
because they hate Kadarius, man.
No, but I'm just saying it had nothing to do with this game. Like I think it was because when we were talking about Evan Neal in the combine, I told him I was like, part of the things that we heard about Kayvon Thibodeau was that he bombed his interviews and he just didn't have a good attitude. And then today something comes out with Thibodeau saying, well, they're booing us and I don't understand these fans. And I'm just like, dude, you are too soft to play in New York. Like bottom line, man. Listen, Jesus Christ could play for a New York team, and if he fumbles the football and he's not playing well, the New York fans are going to boo him in any medium. Basketball, baseball, football. Derek Jeter is literally a guy who can walk through the streets of New York and he could murder someone and everyone will blame it on someone else and look the other way. Derek Jeter was booed in Yankee Stadium when he wasn't hitting. That's the nature of the beast in New York. So Kayvon Thibodeau's already showing soft symptoms right now. But he brought up Kadarius Toney, and I was just like, dude, I don't remember a player having any sort of like back and forth with like an opposing fan base that's not his ever on social media. And I was like, and the biggest clue that he wasn't fully focused on football was when he missed training camp to go shoot a music video because he makes music.
That happened?
Yes, that happened. That was, dude.
Well, that's hilarious because that line aligns perfectly why I red flagged Kadarius. And, I'm big into the draft. And I said, nope, undraftable, because he went on to Daniel Jeremiah's podcast at the Senior Bowl. And I loved Kadarius. I'm like, this guy's at the top of my list coming out of Florida.
And remember, they were trying to find their Debo.
Yeah.
With him.
I was like, this guy is phenomenal athlete. He's going to be a stud. And then he went on Daniel Jeremiah, and Daniel Jeremiah was like, hey, Kadarius, if your rap career takes off, would you pursue that over the football? He'd be like, yeah. I was like, what? I was like, even if you're serious, you don't admit that on a football draft podcast.
No.
One of the biggest things in the evaluation is you hear it from our guys all the time. They want you to love football because if you love something, you're going to pour every ounce of what you have into it, and that's what they're looking for. That's a big reason why Brock Purdy is so good at football. He pours every ounce of what he has into his rehab. That's why he's here. That's why he's a captain. That's why this team loves him. That's why he was able to be successful when he got thrown to the fire against the Dolphins, because he pours everything into learning the playbook. That's what guys who love the game do. If you don't love the game and you get away from practice, you're shooting rap videos, you're twisting up blunts, like you're doing things that aren't going to contribute to success on the field. And that's why these evaluators are so big on who is this guy?
Yeah.
Is he going to be a guy who's focused on his rap career, or is he going to be a guy who's focused on football? And that's why Brock is so successful. He's about that life to the fullest extent, and I really do think that's why. Obviously, he can spin it.
Scout the person, not the player.
Right? He can spin it right. Yeah. So might not be elite from that regard, but he can get the job done. He can read defenses because he's prepared and he's ready to go.
I guess the last thing that we need to talk about with the Rams, because I want to talk about the Giants, because we have a short week. For everybody that talks about all these players in there and how they have to, make sure that they are prepared. Us guys that have to do this content stuff, we're like tripling up and doubling up. But the only good thing, and this is what George Kittle talked about, Brad, Sunday, I'm going to go to a bar and watch football with normal people.
Bro.
And not have to worry about the 49ers. I might even worry about my fantasy team for once.
Jason, I'm already setting it up. The kids, they're about to go with the grandparents.
You're out.
Me and the wife, we're heading into the wilderness, and we are going to have a kid-free. We'll do football on Sunday, probably from the phone, but just I've talked about this. I couldn't do anything because of the Bosa contract, because shocking, this is my job. So that's huge for me to be like on ready to go when the Nick Bosa stuff dropped. And that ate up all this time that I was going to go do that with my family. I'm so excited to be able to Friday night. I'm going to work. We're hopping in the car and we're going north. And I'm like, yeah, I'm so excited. I'm happy for you.
Yep.
I'm happy for me. I'm happy for my wife.
I'm happy for the players. Like the short week is still the short week.
It's a mini bye week. It's a mini bye week.
The short week is still rewarded because George Kittle talked about it. He said, "Listen, I hate preparing this quickly." He was like, "I've got to learn a game plan in this time." He goes, "I know those guys in that room haven't slept." He was like, "But we get Friday, Saturday, Sunday off." And I was just like, God, I was like, that means so tonight, shameless plug. Tonight's Sprint Right option is previewing tomorrow's game. Tomorrow we have the post game. Friday we'll review it. Saturday, Sunday, I'm vibing. I get to do whatever I want. Saturday I get to watch all the college football I want. I get to watch Colorado, everything that I want to watch. And then Sunday, I get to watch football just like a normal person. I don't have to sit there, write notes down, analyze all that stuff, and make sure that I'm talking about it. I can just sit there and get drunk. I love that for me. I love that for us.
I love that for you, man.
I love that for 49ers fans. Like another Sunday where you get to chill once we get tomorrow out of the way.
Where our mental health isn't being driven by a football team. It's fantastic. I mean,
for us.
Those wins I don't take for granted at all. So I'm very, very excited about it. I've had this penciled. Like I was like, all right. At first, I was like, ooh, early Thursday night football in the season. I was like, that's not. I was like, wait a second. That means I get to go on a little bit of early vacation. Actually, sign me up because the bye week isn't until week 9. So it's actually like we talked about. It's a mini bye for the players, for content creators. Look at that.
Imagine them worrying about us. We've got to like jam all this content. Dude, I've been writing like nonstop for Niners Nation. I can't wait to take this weekend off, dude. I really can't.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be great. Justin says, are we talking
at the end of the show? At the end of the show,
okay,
someone in this best ball league had the best week of everyone, and now is like creeping on the door.
That you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I put up the most points this week by like a fraction over Justin. Justin's now second place, but I'm on.
I don't know what I'm at. Let's wait till we go to the end.
Yeah, I got it. I got it pulled up. So when we're done with the end, but this week I went crazy. This week, shout out to Mike Evans.
Dude, Mike Evans having a resurgence with
Johnny Mezzo. Oh, I'm sorry, Baker Mayfield, not Johnny Mezzo.
Steve says Kyle's in his bag, coaching like his seat was hot.
Good, love that.
He's improving, man. I found myself, being really upset with one sequence, and we talked about it already. It was the 2nd and 2. They did the outside run to Debo while they tried to seal an edge with McCaffrey. I'm like, okay, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like when we're in run the clock mode, you know, I
Mhm.
can kind of
That's 4 minute. That's 4 minute drive
rationalize
mode.
it. It
That's
was,
4 minute drive mode. You gotta like kill the
yeah,
clock there.
I called it cute, and I was like, it was kind of cute. But 2nd and 2, you have that. You can pull that out of the bag, see if it works. If it works,
Yeah.
he's a genius, not a big
Yeah.
deal.
Right.
Then it was that 3rd and 3 where Brock misses and gets
Brock put the
killed.
ball. He put the ball over
They
Debo's shoulder.
stop the clock
Clock.
and they punt it back.
Yeah.
Only up 7. I did not like that. I was
Yeah.
like, that's where I was like, okay, this is frustrating to me.
Yeah.
But outside of that, Kyle's been fantastic. I thought he's
Yeah.
been great.
And evolving on 4th down, like I said, that play where the Ayuk catch was overturned, he was ready to go on 4th and 2.
Yeah,
he's ready to go on 4th. He's ready to go on 4th down.
I feel like Kyle's been aggressive in the past, but it's like, oh, we're aggressive at the wrong time, and then we're aggressive. We're not aggressive at the wrong times. It feels like he's aligned. It feels like he's in rhythm, like as a play caller. And we already know he's quality. We already know he's top notch.
Yep.
But it feels like the rhythm of the game, like he's got a better handle on it this year. And is that because of Brock? I don't know. But it's like it feels like Brock is given that confidence to call the shots that he wants to call in any given moment, and understand that his guy who's going to hand it off or throw it is going to put them in the best position possible to execute his play.
And the sneak has a lot to do with Brock, but it has to do with the fact that you know that your interior O-line from left to right has been getting pushed. Oh, wow. GAA, get him.
My Broncos aren't doing too hot, right? They're 0-2.
McGlinchey's been giving up pressures like nobody's business, man. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't want to give a strong take because I haven't watched them, and I haven't watched their tape. I haven't been
watching my team. I'm bad.
I mean, he's Broncos country, let's ride. But like they had one of those fake Russell Wilson things happen at the end of the game that was like basically a symbol of like his time with Seattle, where he just gets lucky. And then they didn't finish it at the end of the game. And Terry McLaurin, by the way, shout out to Terry. It's not like I miss you or anything like that, even though you were never here. Had like a catch over like 2 Broncos defenders. That was disgusting.
That's
Terry,
just what
I wish you were here, buddy. Wish you were here, buddy.
We both do.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yep.
So let's take a deeper dive into the New York Giants for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? Do you think this is again? Are you overconfident like some of the fans were heading into the Rams?
Mm-hmm.
Short week, Giants. Obviously cross country. I think they were in AZ last.
They were
week.
in Arizona, so they just stayed.
They pop
and they
on over here.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly for them.
So, what do you think for this game? Are you confident it's going to be a W? Do you think it could be a trap game? Again, you made the definition of what a trap game is, so I don't think this falls under that for you.
No,
but
it doesn't.
What did you feel? What would you feel about this game coming up tomorrow?
I mean, the 49ers should absolutely win this game. And by the way, mark it down, write it down, bookmark this, throw it up on the screen, whatever, record this. George Kittle scores an anytime touchdown in this game.
Promo code Aponte?
Promo code Aponte, underdog, whatever it is that you do with your betting. Unfortunately, California doesn't have that. But 4 touchdowns in George Kittle's last 4 Thursday night football games. I expect that to completely continue in this game, especially if Brandon Ayuk is somewhat limited, if not out. Don't know if that's going to be the case. But when you look at the offensive line for this team, and you look at the way that the second half progressed when the Rams had to be more predictable and they couldn't rely on quick game and they had to do 5 to 7 step dropbacks, the defensive line came alive. It feels like they're on the cusp of absolutely exploding in this game. And everyone's predicting Nick Bosa to finally get on the board. I'm sure it happens. I mean, if there was a prop bet for Nick Bosa getting 1 sack in this game, over under 1 sack, I would probably put the over and put it at 2. But I do think the guy that is going to have an incredible game on this defensive line is Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave has been routinely blowing things up. He is this close. And if he knows anyone, it is the New York Giants offensive line. I think this is the week that you see Javon Hargrave. And the Giants guy on the pod said the same thing. He's like, did you really have to go and sign Javon Hargrave? And I was like, yes, we did. I was like, we absolutely 100% did. And I think that's the sentiment across the league. It's just like, you added this guy, and because he has 1 sack, I believe, but he had 5 pressures in the game. Again, it boils down to, what do you value, pressures or sacks? Give me the guy that's eventually around the quarterback. He's going to get it done. I think this is a game where Javon Hargrave absolutely feasts on this interior O-line that's going to be starting a bunch of guys that are starting their first game. Nick Bosa is going to do his thing regardless if Evan Neal plays. Andrew Thomas isn't going to play. I think he gets on the board. But this is going to be the game where America is going to look at Javon Hargrave and they're going to say, my God, I can't believe you guys let him get, there. And now he's there, and this is what it can be. The only path, and this is a strong path, like this is like a path where it's like a lot of things have to break their way. The only path that the New York Giants have to making this a game where the 49ers feel uncomfortable is zone read with Daniel Jones, and he's just obliterating the defense with that, and he's keeping drives moving with that, and they're using play action off of that, RPOs, things like that, to make the 49ers get the ball out quickly and all that stuff. And Matt Breida, shout out to him. I love a good revenge game, but Cheetah. And the 49ers absolutely vomit on themselves and turn the ball over a bunch of times, or like there's a punt return for a touchdown or a kickoff return for a touchdown with the Giants.
They come out flat, just
like the 49ers literally have to like puke on themselves to allow the Giants into this game.
The only reason why the 49ers lose is that if they beat themselves is basically
exactly. And we can say that every week. But there's something about this week that, because Daniel Jones is, good with his legs, and the 49ers have had issues containing mobile running quarterbacks, however you want to define it. If they're able to control the clock with zone read and Matt Breida's getting chunk yards, which I don't know, the 49ers have given up, I think it's like 61 yards per game on the ground. Like they're fine. But if the 49ers offense is off the field and the Giants are controlling and wearing down his defense with zone read, and the 49ers are turning the ball over, then that'll be an issue. I don't foresee any of that. And so I want to be objective. I want to be respectful. But I don't see the path to the Giants winning this game. Right. I felt way less optimistic about that Rams game than I did this one. And it's more because that's a divisional game, and I trust Sean McVay. But when you look at their complement of weapons like Waller and Hodgins and Paris Campbell and Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, like that doesn't move you. Like that doesn't move you in any way. And if the 49ers just play their game, they should be fine.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Obviously, the Giants' offensive line is going to be a huge hindrance for a lot of what they're going to try to do. And if it really does come down to zone read, I'm keying on Daniel Jones 100%. I'm going to let him
hit the quarterback every time. Hit the quarterback
I'm
every time.
Let him hand it off to Matt Breida every single time. I'm just going to, I'm not going to squeeze the line of scrimmage. If I'm the defensive end, I'm going to stay home, and I'm just going to make sure Daniel Jones has to hand it off and give it to Breida up the middle. Go ahead, run towards the teeth of our strength, which is Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Eric Armstead, and Hargrave. I'm doing that all day, every day.
I'm listening.
So that's one way that I would neutralize zone read, because obviously without Saquon Barkley, it feels like you don't have to pay as much attention to the running back in that scenario, even though Matt Breida, not going to disrespect Matt Breida, he can have a big game. He's fast. They've got Eric Gray. They've got Gainwell. So it'll be interesting, probably be running back by committee. But ultimately, the 49ers have an opportunity to absolutely just shut the Giants offense down completely. And if they do that, it's going to be really hard for them to win that game.
And you'll see much more Elijah Mitchell in this game. Don't worry, guys. You're not going to need Christian McCaffrey this entire game. This feels like a big George Kittle game. It just feels like you put the emphasis on McCaffrey. You put the emphasis on Debo. This feels like the week. And honestly, to pat myself on the back, because I write a best bets article. I went 4 for 4 week 1. Said it was Brandon Ayuk's week. Okay. Brandon Ayuk went off. Yep. Said it was Debo's week last week. Debo went off.
Yeah.
Let's ride it. It's Kittle this week. It's going to be Kittle this week, who's going to score a touchdown. Book that with an anytime, if you can, anywhere that you live, anytime touchdown, George Kittle, 49ers win, plus 195. That means you win a ton of money no matter what you put down. So, and if you want to see the rest of my predictions, go to Niners Nation and check out the best bets when it drops. But I've been pretty good. I'm 5-2 right now on 7 predictions. That's not bad. It's not bad in betting. And
No,
I would have been
pretty good.
I would have been 7-0 if Brock hits one of those throws down the field, because he would have went over his passing yards, and if Brandon Ayuk doesn't get injured, he was like 6 yards short of the over that I chose, and I was just like, But he only played 30 snaps, so hey, it's what it is. When you win, you win. When you lose, you lose, and it's part of that. But yeah, I think this is a big George Kittle week. I think he scores a touchdown this week. He gets in the touchdown column.
I wonder if we see more Ronnie Bell this week. I think CMC is every week guy. He's going to ball out regardless.
I got Justin. I'm glad you got Justin up here, because Justin's asking the same question, and I'm glad that you're giving him confidence, because he asked me earlier, because we talk a lot about DFS, and he said, I'm going to play Ronnie Bell this week, and I just said, I just don't know if there are going to be a lot of targets for him in this game.
See, one of the things that has me trending towards Ronnie Bell is he's been on the field a lot this last game against the Rams. And as a blocker, you can trust him as a blocker. Like,
if Ayuk's out, he's going to play way more, right?
And that's the thing. If they use Ayuk on a snap count, and if we do believe it's going to be a bit of a blowout, I would have to imagine they're going to have a short leash on Ayuk, and we're going to see a lot more Ronnie Bell this week. And like I said, Ronnie Bell played phenomenally against the Rams without I don't think he was targeted.
No, he wasn't targeted.
But again, he's proven that he can be relied on in the game. Kyle Juszczyk commented on one of the videos I posted. He said, Ronnie Bell's one of us, meaning he's got that dog in him. And they trust him to be out on the field, which is huge for a 7th-round rookie who plays wide receiver for Kyle Shanahan, right? So I look at it in the sense of game flow. 49ers should win this game pretty handedly. I would hope this game is pretty much wrapped up by halftime. But again, it's any given Sunday. Anything can happen. I would say based on any given Thursday. Thank you. I would say based on the way we're looking at it, the 49ers should blow this team out. I feel much more confident about that than last week, because especially the Rams were coming off a nice win against Seattle.
The Giants are coming off a very feel-good win as well, too.
They are, but it's against
Arizona. I think you're looking at the opponent 100%. They wouldn't have been able to come down from 28-0 if it wasn't the Arizona Cardinals on the other side.
Right. And so they'll be on a high, and then they could be met with a really quality team and just plummet back down to reality. So we'll find out. But if I'm a betting man, I'm betting on the 49ers winning by 2 scores minimum.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Christian McCaffrey scored a touchdown in 11 straight games for the San Francisco 49ers. If you're looking for the easiest bet in the world, it's there, but it's minus 250. So Vegas completely understands that, by the way. But the Giants guy, shout out to Ed Valentine. He made a great point about where Giants fans' expectations should be after 2 games. And he said, we played the Dallas Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals. He goes, I think even the toughest Giants fan would tell you that we're probably going to be 1-1. And look at where they are. Regardless of how they got there, you would think that you could beat the Arizona Cardinals. You probably lose to the Dallas Cowboys because the Cowboys are ahead of them. Yeah. And he said that that's why you hold on like the pause button about like judging the Giants, because anyone from the outside looking in would see Dallas, Arizona, San Francisco and say you're probably going to be 1-2 starting the season. Yeah. Now, in the fashion, because they were 6 quarters deep, and they were losing 68-0. No one would have predicted that.
Right.
But this isn't college football.
Yeah.
You don't get style points for wins and how you win. Wins are wins. But I thought that was very interesting, because that was kind of a reminder about the NFL. If you look at the Giants and you said first 3 games, they're probably going to be 1-2. So if they leave here 1-2 like we expect them to, they're not exactly defeated. They're not, oh my God, season's over. But they're just not as good as the Dallas Cowboys or the San Francisco 49ers, who have shown themselves to be the 2 best teams in the NFC by far.
Yeah, arguably 2 of the best teams in the league. And again, a lot of my confidence comes from the injuries. Losing 4 starters, 2 of them on the left side of your offensive line. Finding out from you that they already benched Evan Neal.
They benched him a little bit during the Sunday game.
And they're starting a rookie at center. I mean, that sounds like a disaster
Javon Hargrave, book it.
And you don't have Saquon Barkley, who's arguably the best weapon on the entire team. Like, again, we've seen crazy things happen in this league, and we're never gonna just. It's really hard for me to pencil things in as definitive. But based on all the set of circumstances, the 49ers home opener, it's gonna Levi's about to be popping, and the boys are gonna be ready to go, they're going to smell blood in the water. They're going to go after them.
If we believe this team is who they are, finish this. Don't mess around. Finish this.
Yes.
But
I want to see backups playing the whole fourth quarter. That 100%. Would be my ideal scenario.
100%. I want to have one of those games where I don't watch the fourth quarter. I'm like on my phone sending memes. I don't want that.
Yeah.
But there is something to the idea of a team hearing all of that, knowing they're a 10-point underdog, and almost like a wounded animal type thing. I don't think you're going to see the Giants
fight or flight response kicks in. They go into adrenaline mode.
I don't think you're going to see the Giants go out there and just lay down.
I agree with that.
But you know that you're not better than the other guy out there, but that doesn't change effort. Yep. So look, last week I feel like we had a really good way of looking at the Rams game. We gave praise where it was, and look what happened. The game plan was so good for the Rams, and look what happened. We didn't underline, we didn't overlook the coaching. We didn't overlook any of that.
Right.
This week, I want to make sure that there's something that the Giants can do that is a little bit troubling to the 49ers, which is have a running quarterback. But at the same time, I want to underline the fact that the 49ers have to largely beat themselves in this game for this game to be somewhat close. And if we believe that this team is who they are, handle business this week. And I hate to look forward, handle business against the Arizona Cardinals, and we'll get our litmus test in week 5. That's where I don't think there's anything that you can gain from the 49ers being 4-0 against this schedule.
Yeah.
I think we'll learn a ton about this team in week 5, depending on who's healthy, who's available against the Dallas Cowboys. I hate to look forward, but that always feels like it's the litmus test. I'm not going to learn anything about this team until we face teams in their tier.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. After that, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to learn from them beating down the Steelers, probably beating down the Giants on Thursday, most likely beating down the Arizona Cardinals with Joshua Dobbs in week 4. We'll learn where the 49ers are when they face the teams in their tier. And those are the teams in their tier.
Week 5 is shaping up to be game of the year.
Game of the year. That's game of the year. That is game of the year. And
even with the Eagles on the schedule, week 5 feels like
that's game of the year. It's Dallas and the 49ers. That's game of the year.
And it's prime time.
And if you want to say what you want to say about Dallas, because I'm not looking at the comments, whatever you guys are saying. Well, they faced the Giants and the Jets, and that's nothing. They did exactly what they were supposed to do.
Exactly.
Against those teams. Right. Like I get it. We don't know anything about the Dallas Cowboys either because they did what was expected. Same thing with the 49ers. They did what they were expected to do against the Steelers, against the Rams. We're going to find out much more about this team when they face a team in their tier. I don't know anything about this team that I didn't already know before going into the season. Best way to put it, Graham.
Yeah. And honestly, Drop Top says got to play with a humble
100%.
chip on our
Don't
shoulder.
Overlook anyone.
And underdog mentality. Can't let media accolades, power rankings get in our heads.
And Brad, the 49ers are not overlooking the New York Giants.
No.
49ers fans, like myself, like you, we may be overlooking them, but your team is not.
Yeah.
Again, I want to explain this one more time. Fans, you can do whatever you want. You can be overconfident. You can say whatever you want. We don't play on Sunday.
No.
We don't play on Thursday. If you feel like your team is going to obliterate the Giants, talk that ish. See, I'm not cursing. Talk that ish. Do what you want to do. We don't play. So I'll never understand the sentiment of 49er fans were overconfident. That's why we lost. No, you lost because the team on the field lost to the other team.
See, we were
I don't
talking
play-
too much mess
I don't
before the week. Like,
I don't play for the San
fans
Francisco
can talk.
49ers.
That's literally what fans do is talk crap. Like it's in our DNA to talk crap. Like
I
that has
don't
never
play.
have anything to do.
I don't play for the San Francisco 49ers. I can say
Now,
whatever I want.
If the players stand up at the podium and talk crap, that's a completely different scenario.
That's what I'm
Ask
saying.
Pat
If Fred
Pete.
Warner walked up and was like, "Yo, we watching the Giants 60-0,"
Yeah,
then blame him.
if
Say
if
that.
Brock Purdy to the podium goes, I'm throwing for 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
So blame
on their
them.
head,
I
that's a different
guar-
story.
I guarantee you the team is not overlooking this game. They are preparing the way that they need to prepare. But fans, do what you want. Say what you want. Be how you want. Don't ever let anyone tell you that because you were overconfident, that was the reason your team lost. Your team lost because they got beat on the field. It's not because you sent a text message to your buddy, "We're gonna watch this team." That had nothing to do with it. I never will
Jinx
understand
them.
that sentiment.
That
That makes no sense. It makes no sense. It makes zero sense. Zero.
And if we're going to talk about players on the field, I don't want them to be humble. I want them to be confident. If you have
Yeah.
a confident chip on
Yeah.
your shoulder,
But I
I
understand
don't
what
want
he's
them to
saying,
be
though.
big-headed.
I want him to
you know.
understand the same thing too, right? Like,
Yeah, and I don't
think-
want. I necessarily don't want them to have an underdog mentality either. I
Well,
want them to know they're the top dog.
Hold on, Brad.
and
What do you mean?
Own that.
Travis Kelce, after they won a Super Bowl, said nobody believed in us. Who didn't
Come
believe
on,
in you?
man.
Dude? Who didn't believe in you, dude? Who? I will never understand the underdog mentality that has like the guy who's like the best player in the world on your team. Who
Underdog
said-
mentality works for fandom.
Right.
It doesn't work inside the locker room. You
No.
have to have the mentality
No.
that we are the hunted. We
Yes.
are the ones being hunted,
100%.
not the other way around. Like
100%.
we are defending our throne. We are
I love
defending
this conversation.
our castle, our kingdom.
I
This
love
is
this
our
conversation so
our
much.
field.
I
There's
love
two
this con-
mentalities.
I
There's
love
a
this
fan
conversation so
mentality
much.
and there's a player mentality.
Dude, it's because we'll get on streams and say, "Hey, the 49ers should handle this team," and I'll get comments, "It's your fault that the team..." Me? It's me. I didn't play on Sunday. I was like, pardon me for putting confidence in the team that I support and knowing that they were the better team. Football happens and there's games like that, but it's not because you think the 49ers lost this game and they're sitting in the locker room. That damn Jason Aponte, when he was out there talking crazy that we were going to win this game, that's how we knew what
Bro,
sort
I'll
of
make
logic
some
is this?
random Instagram caption, and my comments are, "Bro, you jinxed us, bro.
Jesus.
You jinxed us." I was like, "Damn, I didn't know I had that much power." This
Dog,
feels
if I
good.
had that
feel like
power-
Thanos.
If I had that power, I would predict the 49ers lose every single game to make sure they win. You know how insane that sounds? Do you know how insane that sounds? There's something about tribalistic fandom that leads you to insane thought processes. Well,
Yeah.
Jason Aponte and Brad Graham said that the 49ers should beat the Giants. That's the reason the 49ers went in there and they were overconfident. They don't listen to us. Who cares?
Breaking news: the LA Rams are trading running back Cam
Akers to where?
the Vikings.
Oh, no, Alexander Mattinson.
R.I.P. Matty. Oh, he had a bad week last week too.
If you listen to State of the Franchise last week, I
boy.
told you not to play him on Thursday, and clearly they're not confident.
Dude.
Oh, no.
boy.
Oh, no.
That's-
I have Madison shares.
So do I.
Oh,
And
no.
I didn't draft him anywhere, so I've been he's been one of my number one handcuff running backs.
No, that's how I've been using
So
him, but I lost Eckler and
I-
Chubb in the same week.
Oh, dude, so I have Eckler Chubb stacks too. It's a nightmare for me
Oh,
right now
no.
running back.
Oh, no.
I have Aaron Jones. I had an Aaron Jones Chubb stack, and now I have like no running backs. I'm like,
Oh,
I don't know what
no.
to do. I don't know what to do. It's
Oh,
crazy.
why did
man.
you have to tell me that?
Sorry, it just came across.
Oh, I'm about to puke. Oh, no.
Hey, don't worry. I'm gonna put out an Instagram caption saying that Cam Akers is gonna have a good game, and I'll jinx it for Madison back towards our way.
Oh, no. Oh, all right, let's just get into the best ball league real quick and let's get out of here. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
let's get into the best ball. So fill me in. I'm a boomer.
Yeah.
I don't know how to even access the
Yeah,
app
no,
properly.
I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. So anybody who is involved in the best ball league with us, the State of the Franchise Best Ball League, I want you guys to tap in real quick so
Quickly,
we can
let
take
me
a
get
look.
this in here
Yeah,
as we get
go for
best
it.
ball up. Keith Murphy's the Unbeaten says, I want to see a game like Tampa game from last year where we cooked Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're close to that, Keith. I think that's something that is in the range of outcomes. But yeah, man, again, it is what it is when it comes to the way football. The 49ers are going to beat the Giants. Like, I want to make sure I reiterate that. Like, they're going to win this game. And also, this game is personal. When I open up my window on certain nights when that stadium's rocking, I can hear it. That's how close I am to MetLife Stadium. I'm literally like, I could walk to MetLife Stadium if I wanted to. It's that close. So this is personal. I need this to happen. A lot of my friends have been sending me, yo, our G-men are coming after you saw what happened. And I need the 49ers to shut them the hell up more than anything. All right. Underdog Fantasy. So DeJuan and Only is still leading right now. 298 points. He's far ahead of everybody now at this point. 298.82 points. He had a very nice week. Plus 137.18. Let's go through who is on his team. He has Patrick Mahomes and Desmond Ritter. Both of them did very well.
Lost
Aaron Jones.
But he has Rashad White. And
Rashad White did very well. Tyreek, Higgins, Ayuk, Addison, Mims, Nico Collins. He's on absolute fire. Nico Collins is having the year 3 breakout that we all thought he would have. Shout out to Justin E. Jared Goff is leading the pack for him, and he hasn't even gotten anything from Lamar Jackson yet. This is all important when you give the context of everything. Christian McCaffrey, Kyren Williams with his last pick.
42 points.
The RB1 of the Los Angeles Rams, and Josh Jacobs hasn't even really gotten going yet. Christian Watson hasn't played a game, but he has Mike Evans, Adam Thielen, Rashid Shaheed. Giving him that first week 1 was insane. This is the advantage of best ball. You don't have to worry about when you need to play them or when they're going to pop. When they pop, they are in your lineup.
Cynthia's cooking.
Cynthia, shout out to Cynthia Carroll. Love her. Longtime supporter of the channel. Incredible 49ers fan. Incredible person. Russell Wilson right now is leading with 42 points. Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott and Rashad Penny, that's fine. Devonta Smith, Tyler Lockett, A.J. Brown, Christian Kirk, and T.J. Hawkinson, who had a massive Thursday. There's some guy right behind both of them who had the best week this week. The best week this week. And the reason he had the best week was because of 2 guys, Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins. Daniel Jones went crazy on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson, Alexander Madison. In case anybody's keeping score at home, now that Cam Akers is now in Minnesota. But what I did after losing J.K. Dobbins, which is my saving grace, is Gus Edwards.
Yeah.
And now it seems as if Justice Hill is not going to play on Sunday. Gus Edwards gets all the carries. Garrett Wilson's a hooper. So CeeDee Lamb. So is Keenan Allen.
Kiki balling.
And Evan Ingram
is balling as well.
He's doing all right.
I'm not up yet.
Right now, look, SF Niners, and shout out to Josh Eccles. He's right behind me. I put up the best week by percentage points. Justin was the one who is in second place based on his performance. So let's get to Brad. 225.06.
Oh,
Jordan Love and CJ Stroud. Let me tell you something. I watched CJ Stroud, and a lot of his stuff comes in garbage time, but I'm so impressed with the way he throws the football. I think Houston's got the right guy. And Jordan Love's actually been really good. The crazy part is the guy that you expected to be the most to pop off. I guess this is the best place to start this conversation, Brad. Justin Fields hasn't registered a point yet for you.
Pain.
Let's go through everybody else, and then we'll end there and we'll get to it. Austin Eckler is a hooper. Maybe he plays this week. I don't think he will. Derrick Henry is really good. But Debo, Zay Flowers, Michael Pittman, Drake London. Darnell Mooney's not going to play this week. Njoku, Musgrave. You're actually
Donovan
in.
Peoples-Jones trash.
Yeah, well, I thought Elijah Mitchell was going to pop this week as well, too. But you're not far off. Like, I have 238.70. You're at 225.06. You are literally 13 points behind me, and I am less than a point away from third place.
Let's
so,
go.
yeah.
I'm in the hunt at least.
Yeah, we're in the hunt. But, Brad, I think it's time real quick. And let's cap this off. I don't know how much more time you've got.
I'm chilling.
Brad and I were staunch supporters of Justin Fields.
Yes.
That's the light way of putting it. You may have heard us refer to him as our prince.
Fields at 3.
Fields at 3
for a while.
Brad Graham officially labeled me worried, super concerned, and there are multiple reasons for Justin Fields' play this season. There is his own play. There is the play caller. There is the fact that their defensive coordinator was just raided by the FBI at his home and the Bears facility. And the fact that the Bears are, pardon my French, an absolute clown show. But I think it's time, because I had made sure that I gave myself ample time to evaluate every single quarterback in this draft with the 3-year label. I think, Brad, we are at a place where now in year 3, we know exactly what every single quarterback is, including Trey Lance. And you guys are not going to like this answer. Trevor Lawrence is that guy, like we thought.
Yep.
Mac Jones is good.
Yeah.
And as a 49er fan, it shouldn't pain you to say that Mac Jones is good.
I said he was good throughout the whole draft process. I just said he wasn't good for number 3.
Yeah. No, he's good. He's
good. If we took him at 12, I'd be fine with that.
He's good.
At 3.
He's good. Yeah. He's good. And he's throwing to door dashers at the with the Patriots.
On Kendrick Bourne.
Shout out to KB, man. And shout out to Hunter Henry. But good God, man, Juju Smith-Schuster is garbage. Devontae Parker, why did they pay him all that money? All right. Anyway, Mac Jones is good. Let's make sure we get that out there. Mac Jones is good. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah, he's a good processor.
Zach stinks. Trey isn't good.
No.
Justin's not good. Oh, my God, man. I can't believe it. And there's a lot of factors into why quarterbacks are good or not. And it depends a lot on situation, and it depends a lot on your playmakers and your own development. Oh, my God. Brad, the most frustrating thing is I watched the entire Bears film.
Yep.
And I watched so many things that were there, and I just said, oh, my God. He's not getting it. He doesn't get it. And then there's this 3-play drive, Brad. 3 plays from I think it's a 25 that they go 75 yards for a touchdown. Laser down the field to DJ Moore. Laser down the field to Darnell Mooney. Laser in between 2 converging defenders for a touchdown to Chase Claypool. And you look there and you say, oh, my God, there it is. But you can say 2 things are true. He's never been put in a good position. I never loved the idea of Matt Eberflus being his coach. You needed to pair him with an offensive mind. And he just hasn't taken steps, Brad. I'm scared. I'm concerned. I'm hurt.
Yeah. It's starting to feel like he might not find success with the Bears. If he finds success, it might have to be with another team. Same thing that, I was saying about Trey Lance with the 49ers. But the common theme between all 3 of those guys is it just feels like it's It's not the physical traits. All three
No.
of those guys have elite physical traits. And that's, again, why Brock Purdy's finding success versus them not finding success. And that's why, it's, again, we don't take L's, we learn lessons. And part of the lessons from that.
No, this is an L.
Well, part of the lessons from this draft class is, again, putting too much weight into physical tools and not enough weight into what makes guys tick. And again, it's hard for us to evaluate that because we don't have that access to them. The only way you can figure that stuff out is by having one-on-one conversations. That's why they put so much emphasis into those talks and stuff like that. And I think pretty much Kyle's made that abundantly clear why they were out on Justin is because they didn't think he was smart enough to be able to process a complex offense.
Or he didn't have the moxie. Right? Like, no matter what you say about Trey Lance, and I think that's the most frustrating part is, like, I think there's still a sentiment of, like, well, I need to see a little bit more before I get to a discussion about him. Trey still walks up to the podium and is just saying all the right things. For Justin to come out today and then say, well, a little bit of it is coaching, I'm thinking too much, and then have to have another press conference after, on top of the fact that the defensive coordinator is having all this. Like, the Bears are an absolute clown show. But at the same time, that shouldn't impede your evaluation of what he's done so far. Yeah. And unfortunately, look, I have issues because I watched both of those Bears games on tape. I have issues with, and if you don't believe me, don't believe me, but listen to JT O'Sullivan, where he puts the blame on Justin, but he puts the blame on some of the play calls. Like, you've got two guys running a corner route where they're literally in the same spot where there's 4 defenders now. Like, that's not a route concept. What are you calling? But for Justin Fields to have 4 design runs called in 2 weeks, while you're trying to figure out the development of your quarterback passing, why wouldn't you use the one thing you know about Justin Fields is that
right.
It's just, I'm not an offensive coordinator. I'm not smarter than anyone. I'm not, again, well, if you're so good, then why don't you be? You know what I would do if I was the offensive coordinator? I would devise more layups and many more design runs on zone read that would put Justin Fields in a position where he can move the sticks and put himself in a position where he can sustain drives. And I don't understand that part. But at the same time, the throws are right there. You're looking at them, and you're turning them down, and then you're taking a 15-yard sack when the pocket's clean. Yeah. I don't know how you defend any of that, Brad. And trust me, nobody loved him more than Brad, many people throughout the draft process. It's a tough pill to swallow to know that you completely got it wrong. But you have to own up to it and say, at this point, we're in year 3, you got it wrong. And it's going to take something very drastic for me to change my mind that we got it wrong.
He just doesn't see the field.
No.
That's the unfortunate part is he doesn't see it. And that's why you have to be able to put a lot of weight into quarterbacks who do. And again, Brock Purdy is the exact opposite of 100%. Justin Fields.
100%.
And that, again, makes you reevaluate the process. It makes you, again, one of the things that I talked about with Mac Jones all the time, he was an elite processor. You could see it in college. He had pocket mobility. He wasn't a mobile quarterback, but he had mobility within the pocket, very similar to Brock Purdy. And he won from the pocket. And with Justin, he made wow throw after wow throw. But at the NFL level, they'll bait you into throws. They'll bait you and they'll make something look different pre-snap versus post-snap. It's so much more complex in the NFL opposed to college, right? And that's one of the biggest hurdles is how these guys are going to transition. Obviously, Justin is a elite athlete, but I just don't think he sees it. I don't think he sees the field. And if you can't see the field, or if you're not in lockstep with your offensive coordinator who can develop a game plan that allows it to be easy for you, you're going to have a hard time finding success. And that's why Brock Purdy's successful right now. And Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Zach Wilson, who again is elite thrower of the football, but
when he's clean and guys are running wide open.
Just doesn't see it. He just doesn't see it, and he doesn't have confidence.
He doesn't. So that's the thing is, I think you pointed it out. Brock threw a few balls where before the guy's out of the break. That's where you need to be with the football. It doesn't matter how hard you can throw the football. You have to throw it before it's open. You have to throw it before it's open. It's not open in the NFL. That's not how this works. Those are the things. And I watched week 1, and I watched a receiver run behind a linebacker where I'm like, Justin, let it rip. The linebacker's flat-footed. You have a wide receiver with a head of steam running into a wide open area. Let it rip. Throw it. And he's holding the ball. And everything that everybody had a problem with Fields in his draft process and evaluation, all of those things are being confirmed by the fact that he's just holding the ball too long and he's not seeing it. How much of that has to do with coaching? How much of that has to do with his own play? But Brad, I'd be lying to you. I'm concerned and I'm hurt and it's not working right now. And I am leaning further and further to the point that Justin Fields is just not good, and I've got to own it. I've got to own it, man. I've got to own it.
Yeah, it's definitely leaning towards the fact that he's not looking too good. And it's unfortunate because both of us really liked him and liked a lot of the skills that he brought to the table from a physical standpoint. Thought he'd be a perfect quarterback for Kyle. But that's not all it takes to be a perfect quarterback. You have to have it between the ears, and you have to have the intangible stuff.
What a bummer to end this show after we were like vibing the whole time.
It's our memoriam to the Justin.
Well, we have to get out in front of it because we were vocal. We were very vocal, so we have to get out in front of it and we have to talk about it. Again, I staunchly said it was going to take me 3 years before I knew what everybody was. Last year, we figured out what Trevor is. Trevor's that guy. I saw some throws on tape that he's made in this year. I'm just like, this is why you're the chosen one. I get it. I get it completely. Mac, I think it's hard for 49er fans to look themselves in the mirror and say that Mac Jones is good at football. He's a good player. He's good. Nothing you can say about that. And I think it's time that you and I talked about Justin Fields and we made sure that we held ourselves accountable to the 3-year timeline, because we thought this was the year that he was going to eventually make those jumps. And unfortunately, he hasn't. He hasn't been put in good positions. But that's not an excuse all the way. And you have to rise above those things, especially when no matter what coaching is telling you, when you look at a receiver who's wide open in the middle of the field by himself and you have a rocket arm, let it rip, Justin. Let it go. That has nothing to do with processing. Just go.
Just he doesn't have faith in what he's seeing, and that's the hard part.
Yep.
So, R.I.P. the Justin Fields high.
R.I.P. our Prince. Oh,
it was we had a fun run.
We did.
I know a lot of people are talking about it like this. I've seen a lot of Bears fans completely jump off the Fields hype train, probably because they hyped him up so much this offseason.
But it looks so good, and you figured the play caller. You figured the play
you would take
caller,
the natural progressions, not go backwards.
And you bring DJ Moore in, who's somebody who kind of fits his skill set. Is somebody who's like a Deebo Samuel type, where you throw him the ball in space and just let him create. It's just like all of that seemed to be a marriage to his skill set, which would lead you to believe that a natural progression. But damn, Luke Getsy, 3 design runs, 3. He scored a touchdown on a play where he just busted it in. 3 design runs. What are we doing, man? Use the zone read. Use his legs at least a little bit. Give the kid some confidence so he could not be 3 and out all the time. Good God. But at the same time, put emphasis on the player. He's got to be better.
And it's not going to get any better. The situation's taking a turn.
Oh, it's a complete. It's down the toilet now at this point. It's
the whole season. The issue, like, it's beyond like perception. The fact that the defensive coordinator no longer works for them, the distraction levels at an all-time high for them. So Bears, not good, not good at all. But hey, fortunately, we're 49ers.
The 49ers are really good,
and we got a game tomorrow on prime time, and the 49ers are going to win. And crazy enough, again, this is why the whole scouting process is. It's why they pay people hundreds of thousands of dollars to evaluate talent, because if anyone could do it, everyone would. And
Right.
you hit, you miss. It's a part of life. It's part of the evaluation. The biggest thing on missing on an eval is trying to understand why you missed.
Right. It's about chalking it up and writing it to the next one.
And then, yeah, exactly. Then when you go next time we're scouting quarterbacks, we're going to be looking for a lot of those intangibles that Brock Purdy has, even if it means they might not have the most physical gifted arm, they might not be the biggest, but if they have those intangible traits, those are the things that we're going to value more.
That's what I talked about on the Giants pod. Is when Patrick Mahomes came on the scene, everybody started to obsess over, I need a guy with a huge arm. I need a guy who can move.
Flipped the script for our quarterback evaluation.
And now you find a Brock Purdy with the last pick, and now there's teams trying to find someone with that sort of skill set because he processes so well. And it's just funny how we talk about it being a copycat league in terms of concepts on offense, concepts on defense, and things that people take. Literally, I just watched the Cleveland Browns steal that block punt thing or that block field goal thing that the Patriots tried to do. They tried to run that on a block punt, and that's the nature of the copycat thing.
Yeah.
But it's funny because you react to what you're seeing and you react to success, and now people are taking more shots on guys that have a Brock Purdy level skill set because they're just like, well, maybe we shouldn't be looking for the guy with the long arm and who can run,
right?
Because that's not all that goes into quarterback.
Mahomes is an extremely rare player. It's not like
and Josh Allen still turns the ball over at an unreal rate, even if this week he didn't, and he looked like the guy that everybody's obsessed with, like, right? Joe Burrow's not looking so good. Justin Herbert hasn't won a bunch of games, right? But those guys have that talent level that you're looking at. Jalen Hurts still, to me, I don't care what anybody says. When I'm watching him, I'm starting to think, how much did Shane Steichen have to do with what he had going on? Because he looks like a one read and bail guy. And that, if I notice that, then the NFL defensive coordinators are noticing that as well too. So that's the thing. It's like, it's a copycat league in terms of like pivoting to what you're seeing. When you see someone have success with one type of quarterback, then you try to duplicate that. That's why everybody's looking for their next Debo. That's why everybody's looking for like all of those things. Like it's just weird how things move back and forth because you're looking for like physical traits and then you realize, damn, you don't have it between the ears, and now I'm looking for this. And that's kind of just what it is.
We got to adjust.
Well, how does he process? That's it.
Right. So again, it's going to be something that we'll probably lean on during draft season and all that type of stuff. But it's been that's why the evaluation process isn't defined. So and Brock Purdy's again another perfect example of that. The last pick in the draft is already people are already talking about him as a top 10 quarterback. So that's just how it works, man. So with this whole situation, Giants coming up, does feel like the 49ers are going to take care of business, obviously, with a lot of the injuries that are happening. And of course, we'll always say any given Thursday, anything can happen. But it does feel like it's trending in the right direction for the 49ers to come away with a W during the home opener, as we kind of expect at this point. So any parting words on Rams, Giants, anything in general?
Nah, 49er fans, enjoy. Your team's really good. There's a lot of teams going through it right now that don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And your team, I'll say this again. I feel like I've said it all week. 49er fans, you don't have to play your best game to win. There's teams in this league, right? No, but there's teams in this league that play their best game. They're clean. They have everybody healthy, and they don't even sniff victories. Your team has a chance every single week that they go out there. As long as they are themselves and they play and they have contributors on certain sides of the ball, can find a way to win games. But there's teams out there that literally do everything right. Perfect game, everything. No turnovers, completely healthy. can't even sniff a win. But that's based on the roster that you built. So, while realism is welcomed, negativity without context and actual thought is unwelcomed. And it doesn't really make sense unless, things become a trend. And until they do, you're just projecting what you kind of want to see happen so you can say I was right. But as of right now, the 49ers are set. As long as they're healthy, as long as they play their game, nobody can beat them, but they'll find other ways to beat you. And I think that's something that you can't take for granted as a 49er fan, because there's a lot of fan bases that cannot say that about their team.
Yep, absolutely. What else you got cooking the rest of the week? Obviously, game tomorrow. So game days for both of us, game day content probably per usual. But we talked about it. We're going to treat this next weekend like a bye. So,
oh, yeah. Oh, this weekend, don't expect too much aside from a Friday sprint right option. I would have been out there, but COVID made its way into my household. So, yeah, I had everything planned. I was ready to go. I would have been there for tomorrow's
I was going to
game.
say, I was like, wait, didn't we talk about you coming?
Yeah, no, I would have been out there, but, COVID made its way into the household. You got to take care of family, do what you got to do. But tonight at 8:15, sprint right option. Make sure you're tuned in after the game. It's going to be super late on my side. God, these Thursday night football games are going to be the death of me.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Game doesn't kick off until
8:15.
Woo.
Post game on the channel. Friday, you will get a sprint right option again with Andrew. So you're getting us 3 times this week. And Niners Nation this entire week. Make sure you look out for the best bets on Sunday. I just submitted that article. Not sure if it's up right now, but check out Niners Nation. I'll be writing it the entire week, but I've got Saturday and Sunday off, and I plan to be Sunday watching football without a care in the world. So, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. And, yeah, make sure you tap into the channel, like on both channels, subscribe to both channels, hit that notification bell for when we go live. Shout out to you guys, man. And the 49ers are cooking. They're 2-0, look to be 3-0.
Absolutely. I'll be at the game, so you'll get game day content from me from being in the stadium. So I will be at the home opener. Technically, last week was the home opener, but our official home opener against the Giants at Levi's North, I guess. Levi's Bay Area. So I'll be there. I'll be doing all my game day content per usual, posting to all the socials, doing all that good stuff, vibing, looking forward to it all. So football's coming early, and then we're going to take a little reset, and then we're grinding until the bye week 9. So looking forward to it. And again, shout out to everyone, as always, for vibing with State of the Franchise. As Jason said, make sure to like and subscribe to both. And we will be back on next Wednesday to break down this game against the Giants, which will be long over by then. And we'll be focusing on the Cardinals. Man, we're in the swing of the season, Jason. Felt like just yesterday we were like, when is the season going to start? And we are in the middle of it. But again, shout out to all you guys vibing with us. We appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday for State of the Franchise. For now, we are out. Peace. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now.